All right, Chelsea Husum. Thank you for coming on the Edison podcast. I really appreciate it. At least I didn't butcher your name today.
You did great. Thank you. Thanks for
My,
having me.
my last week one, it was this one lady. It was like ravioli and gagioli. I know,
Yeah.
damn, I get it down now. I couldn't during that whole show.
Yeah, it's a hard one. You did great.
Well, mine's Parcaut, and not many people get that. So,
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure
yeah,
you're like, oh, really? That's a new one. Haven't heard
yeah.
that.
Well, and I always ask people, how do they pronounce their name anyway? Because my
hmm
wife's name's Marcia, Marcia. So everybody's like,
Mm.
Marcia. No, it's Marcia. It's her mom, messed her up. All right, enough about me. This is about you today. All right, I know from your thing you're an entrepreneur in the construction industry, right?
Yep.
You're an author and you've done some speaking.
Yep.
But when you were a little girl, did you thought you're going to grow up to be an entrepreneur?
Absolutely not. Never, never, never. I thought I wanted to be a teacher, which I actually did end up being a teacher for 10 years. I was a high school Spanish teacher. Um, but I graduated college with a broadcast journalism and Spanish degree. Thought I wanted to be the next Barbara Walters till I found out they make 20 grand and work nights and weekends all the time. And I was like, that's not very enticing. So then I
Okay, not
worked
many
in
people are going to go, Barbara Walters. Barbara Walters.
what? Come on.
No, no.
Yeah.
Barbara
Yeah.
Wawa. Barbara Wawa.
It's been a while, yeah. Yep, but, yeah, and then I actually worked in trade shows, experiential marketing for 6 years. Then I was like, just to pay the bills, the college loans coming due. Then I was like, "Well, I'm not making a difference in the world," so I quit, got my master's, became a teacher, and then 10 years down the road, I remember the day a kid called me an effing waste of space, and I was like, "Huh, okay," and I was just like, "I don't like this anymore," and so I ended up merging randomly into construction. Never ever thought I would be in construction or own my own business ever.
Well, there's only like 650,000 job available in construction right now.
There are.
It's there's
Yes.
there's one industry that needs a lot of people, and everybody's like, "Oh, they kinda
They're
work
begging.
outside."
They're
Yeah.
begging and they pay you really good money. Like other companies like plumbers, electricians, man, they pay you to go to school. They pay you a
Mhm.
ton of money.
Here in
Mhm.
our town, we have actually a builder association that will pay females they'll give them money towards getting going and learning their whatever in the trade
Whatever
industry they
trade.
wanna
Yeah,
learn. Yeah, and
that's
it's huge,
cool.
and they're still having trouble getting, because a lot of women aren't known to be in trades, but it's huge. It's
Mhm.
the one place that there are some people.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
for some
Yeah.
reason, there's about 3.5 million guys who just don't wanna go back to work.
Yeah, where are they? I don't
I
know.
don't
Are
know.
they closet
Somebody's
millionaires?
basement.
It's
They're
weird.
yeah, they're influencers. They have their own
Oh
podcast.
god. Oh, God help us all.
Yeah, because and that's again, I know we're about you, but that's why our unemployment rate is not correct because they only look at people looking for work. 72
Not
million
not the people in the
migrants,
basements who aren't
right?
looking
Right,
or
yeah, 72 million migrants or illegals,
mhm,
whatever you call them. They're not looking for work. The
mm,
quietly who quit are not looking for work.
yeah,
There's so many of
yeah.
so if you actually looked at the true number, that thing's closer to 10%, and we'd really be scared if we
It
really knew what that number was.
oh, totally. Yeah, every single place you go to is hiring desperately, like, they just still it's crazy.
Or they kept people they don't really want because they have
Because 'cause
nobody
they're
else to
literally
replace.
desperate for a body. It's like,
Yeah,
"Oh my god, how did we get here?"
right. But what do you do in the construction industry now?
So we do core drilling, which is the circular cutting in slab or wall of concrete, and then we do it's called ground penetrating radar. So it's this tiny little machine that it scans the concrete and it will say like there's something here, there's something here. You can safely cut here. So it kind of just tells you where there isn't PT cable, rebar, all that stuff, and then we'll do the cutting. And mainly, my clients are mainly electrical and mechanical companies or general contractors. And then like we'll drill the holes and they come in and put whatever it is they put in there.
That's what I was gonna ask, what you're gonna drill. So very
Yeah.
specialty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Real
specialty.
niche.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yes.
very niche. It's like my brother-in-law
Yes.
who did
Random.
cameras into sewer systems. It was,
Yeah. Yeah.
he was
And there's
yeah,
so
and
many
he's in
jobs out there
Colorado,
like that.
actually. He was in
Oh,
Colorado.
really?
Yeah,
That's
he's in,
funny.
Craig, and
Okay.
he had a whole, not
Whole thing.
Roto-Rooter, but kinda like that
Yeah.
company, Action Drain, and then he just started getting into cameras and all this and,
Mm-hmm.
wastewater to take out of when they have the fires, the gray water take out. Oh,
Oh, yeah,
dude
yeah.
made so much money.
It's like there's so many jobs out there that are so interesting and niche, but like you would never have a clue. Like you're not a kid like I'm going to grow up and do this, right? It's just like,
Like,
huh, okay.
I'm gonna grow up being a mortgage broker. Oh yeah, that's one thing that everybody
That
talks
sounds
about. That's
really
what I would. Yeah.
exciting.
It
Oh
actually
gosh.
was, but just recently in the last year and a half, ever since we went up 5%, it's been the ugly.
Yeah,
There's only been 2
brutal.
times just as brutal, and that was
Mhm.
2006, 7-ish, and then right now because of the fact
Yeah.
that the rates are so high, nobody's really doing much, but we're still
Yeah.
so far behind on building homes, multifamily, single family for
Yep.
people to live in. We're gonna
Yeah.
never it's gonna take forever to get caught up if we ever do.
Yeah, and these rates, I mean, being a small business owner, man, they're killing
Mhm.
me. It's real tough. Like, oh, my payments go up every month for the same, on my loans or whatever. It's like, oh my God, it's
Come on,
brutal.
man.
Like,
Just kidding.
help me out.
All right, so as a business owner, you're saying that's tough. So
It
you've been in
is.
business, so you were a teacher, and you're like, okay,
Mhm.
f this. Was that in Colorado? You were a
Yeah.
teacher. Okay,
Yep.
I thought maybe it was somewhere else with the way they said that. It
No.
sounded like California. I can say that because I'm from California. But that's just sad because that's the state we're in where
Mhm.
it's just like the military. When you got rid of the repercussions for what you do or what you
Mhm.
people just act out the way they wanna act out. There's no
Yeah.
and now it's that way across ever since the pandemic. I feel this is
Mhm.
how it is where I am. Nobody drives like they used to drive. They don't
Yeah.
stop, they don't do anything, and they just run through
No.
stuff all the time, and they don't care. And
Yeah,
that
it's crazy.
yeah.
It's like th it's gotten so hard and it's thankless. It's like you can't say or do anything or they're gonna be like videoing you or they're gonna sue you or this. I mean, it's just like how do you go to work every day? And that we need teachers. I have 2 young sons. Like we need good teachers.
Mhm.
But like so many of my friends that are still in teaching are like, I just want out, but I don't know what to go do, you know? It's
Construction.
yeah. I would hire a teacher in a second. I would hire military teachers for sure, right? Like,
Right. Definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah, especially
Mhm.
military. I mean,
Yeah,
there's some of us that come out with issues, but there's those that can get resolved, but there's so many of us coming
mhm.
out not knowing what we wanna do, and I don't think there's a good
Exactly.
reach out about getting into trades. There's a good reach out
Oh,
to getting into police and sheriff and,
mhm, mhm.
prison stuff because
Yeah,
that's more of a paramilitary organization, what you just came out of, but
yeah.
or the federal government, but no one's saying, "Okay, here's how you get into a trade," you know?
Mhm. Really, there's such a market there, and the trades would be lucky to have anyone from military, right? They really need to do a better job of it.
Yeah, because I mean, their attention, the dumbest thing we learn is how to make our bed. And we're like, why are we learning how to make our bed? And all the stuff that they make us do perfectly, it's attention to
Mhm.
detail. That's all they're
It
teaching
is.
us.
You're
And
meticulous, like,
yes.
right? Yeah, yeah.
And then SOP, standard operating procedures,
Mhm.
that we understand them because that's all our jobs are is you sit down and read the book and you know how to
Yep.
do your job.
Yep.
So, all right. So you've been in the construction industry for how long?
Started the company in March 2020 randomly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect timing right
What
now.
else are we doing in the world? Yeah, right. And I
So,
still worked a different job until April of 22, which was a little crazy. I was like, I can't work 2 full-time jobs anymore.
all right.
So,
So who's the we?
well, I can't work 2 full-time jobs anymore, but yeah, so I was an office manager for a different construction company, and then I ran my company. So I was like, I need to before I cut myself in half and hopefully clone myself, I gotta move on.
So this is truly your company.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I
Yep.
did
I own
not
and
get that.
operate it. I do everything, literally. It's
Wow.
a little crazy. Sometimes I
Yeah, you need some
think
more
I'm a
help, I
little
think.
insane.
Yeah. All right. So what have you learned since you started your own company? Because it's
Mm.
running a company, your own company is totally different than working for somebody else. And what I
Oh,
mean by that
totally.
is no matter how well you think you're spending other people's money, when you get it to your company, you're like, wow, I did not even spend money like I should have been. You know what I mean? The same way.
Yeah, it's totally different. Gosh, I learned so many things. It's I you learn a lot of things the hard way, right? And you make
Everybody.
mistakes, but it's like I never thought I would end up here and own my own company or be in construction, but I love it so much. Like I fell into what I'm really good at. And I learned like from the last company I worked at, it was just a mess, like total mess. Don't even know how they were in business. So that taught me a lot of things what not to do. Truly, I was like, and I'm really organized. And so from that and then being really organized, like I knew exactly what I want it to be organized, set up correctly, like everything's legit done right, not messy, that kind of stuff. So I've learned the hard way, but I've learned to ask questions when I don't know. I surround myself with other people that are doing what I want to do well. Like the cool thing is I've met there's a lot of women in construction that I've met that are amazing. And weirdly, there's only like 9% of women in construction total, which is insane. But I've met two women that own their own companies. One is masonry, one's a restoration company. And there's others too, like an electrical company. They're doing multi-millions a year, like kicking ass, like amazing, right? And I can call them and be like, hey, this happened, this situation, what would you do? And they're like, oh, don't even worry about that. Do this. You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
nice to call on these people. So that I've learned a lot from these people and from their mistakes, and they're willing to like take me under their wing and share what they've learned so I don't have to make the same mistakes.
Yeah, I ran into knowing about women in trades because I ran into a place in Utah where these
Mm.
women were building a house out from all women in trades, and they were
Oh,
turning
cool.
around going to sell the house and then put that
Mm,
money into scholarships for women to get into trades in Utah.
that's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool.
And they brought in them from all over the country to do the
Hmm,
trade that they were good at. It was all women.
that's
And from that, I
yeah.
was like, wow, I did not know. And then I gave that to that person in my town, the builder lady who
Hmm.
rented the builder place, and she was just shocked also.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So what was one of your biggest mistakes you made on being your own business?
Business owner. Oh gosh, probably like what I've learned is to stop second guessing myself. Like I believe in like my gut feeling, right? I
Mhm.
know something. And then sometimes along the way I'd be like, "Oh, well, no, I should be doing this because so and so says so," or I feel pressure to say or do this, right? And that just doesn't work out. You have to be authentic and real and be like, "This is me. I know what I'm saying cuz I trust myself. I know what I'm talking about." And if somebody's going to call me and say, "Well, we're not using you. You're not the cheapest." Well, I'm not trying to be the cheapest. So there's that. And then, we have value and I know we offer value. So I can like say kindly, no, I'm not going to lower my prices for you. And if this isn't a good fit, then I wish you luck, bye. So just like learning to trust myself because back in the day I would have just been like, "Oh, sure, I'll lower prices," or just bent over backwards for like people that really shouldn't be doing that.
Right. Well, it's setting, what you're worth, right? The worth of what,
Exactly.
yeah, and your price point.
Knowing
Yeah.
who you are now and what you're worth. Yeah.
And also, you need to know who your perfect client is.
Mhm.
If you don't know who your
Totally.
client is or why you're doing what you're doing, you're not going to be
Mhm.
able to do it well.
Yeah, and like I'm not going to beg people to work with me. Like I want people to want to work with me and see the value in what we do, right? And know that my employees are great at what they do. Yeah, but I'm not going to beg people. And if it's not a good fit, let them move on and make room for another perfect client to come in.
No, but it's really because I've talked to so many people who don't know who their perfect client is.
Mhm.
Who's your perfect client?
Mine are by far an electrical company that has like hundreds of cores to do and they just let us go. And they're like, "Okay, we got 500 for you. Here you go." And then my guys are just like busting it out. And really it's like I work with some companies that send me 150-page contracts, okay? And others send me no contract. They send me a PO. Others send me 5-page contract. It's like I've learned the clients like you got to jump through these hoops to work with that one. You got to, this one I kind of know who I work with at this point and what they need, so you figure it out. But yeah, electrical companies by far are mine. The like big ones that are doing quite a bit of work.
Now, when you core, is it all buildings you're cutting? How are you where are you doing the coring most of the time?
Mhm. So I mean, we're working places like prisons, airports, hotels, high rises, libraries, hospitals, schools, all that kind of stuff. So
So they're
it's
already built and they just needed a record. They need to put some more stuff in. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it could be like renovations. For
Okay.
example, like we renovated like Denver Public Library. So that was like a massive undertaking. They're redoing it all. Or new builds. Like we helped build the new library in my town. So, then I'm partnering with the electrician that and then they'll call me in as needed. Yeah.
Well, I was going to, because if they're building it, they should have conduits already put in place, right?
Some pre-sleeve and some
Okay.
don't. So thank God some don't because then they're like, we need hundreds of cores. I'm like, okay, I'll help you out.
Is it better to pre-sleeve or not pre-sleeve? What's better? I mean, not okay
Well,
for
I mean,
you
if you're
money
asking
wise, yeah.
me,
No, but ultimately, is that like planning or not planning, or it's just there's a different school of thought between the two?
yeah, honestly, I don't know enough of that end of it. If it's me personally, I'm a planner, I would feel like it'd be better to pre-sleeve, you know, but then there's always they joke like there's always going to be some that we got to move and then we'll call you, but I honestly I don't know enough of that end of the planning to know like which one is better or more economical, I guess.
Oh, I don't. I just was curious why
I'm
they would do
curious.
one
Yeah,
or
I'm
the
not
other.
sure.
I'm not in the industry, so of course I'm going to be curious. And
That's
that's
good.
and I run a podcast, a couple of them.
Like that's what
I
I
always
do. I
ask
ask
why.
questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I always ask why. I'm very nosy, according to my wife. Because if we're ever at a dinner or whatever, she squeezes my thigh when she wants me to
Like,
shut up because
shut
I'm
up.
asking questions. But for
Yeah.
me, I feel most of us are in the middle. There's just those
Mhm.
fringes on the outside. This is political wise and
Mhm.
everything. And I want to know why people think the way they do, because
Yeah.
that just allows me to understand people. I want to understand people. A
Well,
lot
and
of people
just
get
have a
upset.
natural curiosity about life, right? Like that's cool. Like you shouldn't be like, I know everything. That-
No,
You
I
know?
don't. I know I don't know everything.
I do
And
too.
I
Yeah,
yeah,
not
and
at
I
all.
know I don't get upset with what people do. Like, I was talking to
Mhm.
somebody the other day, and they were talking about how much in this I don't care where you lie in the political scale, it's not about
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
They say how much why they hate Trump versus how they're gonna vote now, and I'm like
Mhm.
and the things that they're complaining about, I'm like, I don't even think of people that way. Meaning, I don't put anybody on a pedestal because I all you're
Mhm.
gonna do is they're gonna fall. So
Yeah.
I expect people to do a job. I
Mhm.
don't care what they do on their off time.
Or what they say they're gonna do. What are they doing? Right? We
Yeah,
can all
yeah,
talk and talk and talk. What are you actually doing?
right.
Yeah.
If you're gonna, I don't do locker room talk, but other people do.
Mhm.
I learned a long
Mhm.
time ago that that's not me. That's not. I don't
Yeah.
say certain things. Other people will say it.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, if you're gonna do that, you'll never elect anybody, or you'll never work for anybody.
Yeah, right?
Because I mean,
Go back
prime
to the
examples.
basement.
Yeah. I don't know if you listen to Dr. Huberman, but he was
Uh-uh.
I listen he has a huge podcast out of Stanford about and he talks about
Okay.
everything that you want to know about health and everything else. Well,
Okay.
supposedly it just came out he had 6 affairs. Why
Okay.
do I care? Everybody's like, "Oh my god." I'm like, "Why do I care?"
You're like, "I'm
Does it
still
change any
learning."
right.
Yeah,
Does
right.
it change anything he's saying about medicine or anything else?
Mhm.
No.
No.
And I tell
Yeah.
people, there's certain celebrities and certain people are put in situations that you'll never be put into and never have to worry about it. But
Mhm.
you can't judge people. That's not your job to judge them.
Yeah. That's you'd spend all day every day, right? We all make mistakes, some not as grand as others, right? But
Right.
yeah, give people a little grace and move on, right?
Right. Because everybody makes mistakes. The question really is who's broadcasting your mistakes? Right.
Exactly.
They have
Mhm.
whatever it is, it's out in the public. And
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, let's move on. Who cares? I really don't care about that. It's about
Yeah.
what they do as a person. If them and their spouse have this issue, or we don't know the openness, we don't know
You
anything
don't
about the
know what it's
relationship.
behind closed doors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
I mean, if they have upside down pineapple, we totally know, but that's beside the point.
We want me and my husband keep saying we wanna go, like, what is it? The pineapple, the gnome, and, like, flamingos, or I don't even know. We're gonna, like, plant them around our friends in the neighborhood and see how long it takes them to notice or if they get knocks on the door. We have a little time on our hands apparently.
Apparently. What does your husband do?
He is in business development for a general contractor, so a large construction company.
Well,
Yeah. So he's like you, he's the chatter, and I'm like squeezing his leg, like, shut up. I wanted to go an hour ago. Stop talking. He's the
oh, I'm good
talker.
about leaving on time. That's okay. That's like yesterday we had a Rotary event because I'm the president of my Rotary and had to
Yeah.
go to this event after, it was after, oh, and I'm like, I really didn't want to go. I'm tired. I have this, I have work to
Yeah.
do. This, I still have 2 more hours of work to do, editing and this and this. Went
Yeah.
there for a few minutes, said hi to everybody, and then left. And I'm
Mhm.
okay with that.
Oh,
Somebody will
totally.
say something, but I don't care.
Yeah.
But I
Show your face, walk around, do an Irish goodbye. Yep.
is that what that
It's
is?
great. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what was your book about?
So my book is called Real Vibes Only: Unapologetic Confessions of a Hot Mess Mompreneur. So talking about business, being a busy mom, woman. It's a lot of it's just short stories from my life of things that I've gone through. Some are pretty traumatic, some are kind of in the middle, some are lighter, but it's kind of the whole goal. After I wrote it, I'm like, okay, so my goal is to have people hopefully feel connected. If everyone goes through hard times, every single person, that's a guarantee of life, right? So it's like when you're going through it, when you're in it, you feel like it's going to break you. You don't feel like you're going to get out of it, right? And it's so hard. And it's like I hope to inspire people, like, when you're in it, you can get out. You need to take care of yourself. You need to do what's going to make you feel good, right? But you will get out. So the goal is just to have people feel connected and seen and get rid of shame and guilt around whatever's happened to you, right? And don't let it hold you back. Like, use it as your story. You don't have to write a book about it or podcast about it, but at least make peace with yourself about whatever it is you've been through, and go out and, however you want to spread that or not, in the world, and just be at peace with it.
It sounds to me like you're talking about something personal.
Yeah, I mean, these are, and I did talk a little about business, but like um the
I mean, we
two
don't
of
have to
the
get into it, but it sounds like there was something that happened
yes.
to you as when you were younger,
Yes.
or
Yeah,
and then,
one
and
was
because
pretty traumatic 20 years ago, and one was probably the last few years. Yeah, I mean, so I talk in detail about it. Mhm.
well, I mean, get it because a lot of people don't understand, and I try to explain to people when you forgive somebody, you're not forgiving them for them. It's for you to heal and talk about it. And a lot of people don't want to talk about it. And it's like that's how you get over things is by talking about it, which sounds stupid, but that's really how that
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, like a
Because
lot
that's
of
like, yeah,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's the problem with a lot of vets. They
Yes.
don't want to get
Mhm.
help because they let
Mhm.
somebody else get help. I don't need help. I don't. And my big thing to them is, okay, well, if you're pinned down, you call for air support. What's the
Mhm.
difference?
Yeah. And the strong part at that point is admitting you do need help, right? And
Mhm.
that's okay. It doesn't mean you're not strong, right? Yeah, my family comes from a lot of veterans, and yes, I completely agree. And it's hard when you're in it, but you can get through, and you need, like, I remember writing the book and I'd be sitting there crying a lot, reliving these things because I've gone through them, yes, but like having to put them now into words, take feelings and now put it into words. It was intense, but it was very healing, right? So I still read it sometimes and get teary-eyed, and but it was healing, and you have to acknowledge it, and not just keep it in the dark. Like, one of the things that happened 20 years ago, I didn't tell anyone for till like this year. Like, didn't tell my parents, no one. And they're all like, "Oh my god," and it was major. And so I kind of talk about, like, that I didn't do any work. I didn't heal. I just shoved it down, locked it, threw away the key, right? Like, it pretended it didn't happen, probably because it was so traumatic. Then now, I went through something really, probably the toughest thing in my life recently, the past couple years. But I knew enough to say, I'm not okay. I need a therapist. I need to get outside in the sun. I need to move my body. I need to quit drinking so much. That's not helping my mindset, things like that. It's interesting how you deal with it differently, depending on where you're at in life.
Oh, totally. I mean, as we grow, we grow,
Hmm.
and expand. And I'm sure with like your business, you're going, okay, where am I at on my business and what I'm doing to go forward? Because a lot of people
Yep.
think that you have overnight success with business,
Oh, no, not at
and
all.
it's usually 15 and 20 years of overnight successes, right?
And then people make it and they're like, "Wow, that just happened." You're like, "No, I worked my butt off for a long time
Yeah.
for that." Yeah.
I mean, it's like, but and there's stuff that happens to you. It's like we talked, I think beforehand, rates
Mhm.
went up 5% for us, and it was the worst time we've
Mhm.
been in since 2006, 7 when that whole
Yeah.
market fell apart.
Yeah.
And, we don't normally you don't have these major thing happens every 16 years. And then,
Yeah.
prior to that, we didn't have that, or we'd have maybe, 12 months of, a little bit higher interest
A
rate, but
little
people were
bit, but not
not,
crazy.
yeah, not
Yeah.
8% again. Because my
Yeah.
book came out not this last February, but last year, the year
Okay.
before February. And in
Okay.
there, I said, luckily, we're not back to the 8% of whatever. We
And
got
then you're
there.
like, "Oopsie." Yeah.
Dang, yeah. But
Yeah, we
at
got
the
there
time I
quick.
was writing it, we weren't, and it was all about
Mhm.
people still need to go buy homes even in today's market because they're
They
not gonna get any
do.
cheaper.
Yeah, it's even to get an SBA loan, like, I'm talking to them, it's like 11%, and it's like, "Oh my god." That's like, oh, it's
Yeah, but
tough.
that's because of Fed funds rate. That has to do
Yeah,
with
I
what the
know.
Fed does.
I
Yeah.
know.
The prime
And
rate that they
yeah.
adjust.
Yeah. It's just it doesn't make it easy. You think they would, it'd be easier for a small business that, small business owners, it's a hard thing, right? I mean, yeah, it's very interesting. All the ramifications of all of that.
Well, and the other thing about you're talking about, those interest rates are normal interest rates. We're just
Mhm.
not
Yeah,
used to those interest rates anymore
I know. I feel like
because I
back
w go ahead.
sorry. Well, I
No,
feel
go
like back when my parents bought their house, I they told me what it was. It was were they, like, back at 20% or I mean,
in
something
the '80s, they were
crazy, yes.
21%. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like when they bought the house, you're like, "Oh my gosh."
I know, but mortgages were 40,000,
S
80,000, depending on where you live.
Exactly, exactly.
But incomes were exactly the same as that
Mhm.
back then, not income like today. The
Yeah.
difference is most people that are younger have a
Mhm.
higher income than their parents did at the same age.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So that's a huge difference. And you
Mhm,
want to be able to own home, go
mhm,
into the medical industry, become a nurse, or go into the
mhm.
trades and make your money
Yeah,
there. That's where the money's at.
yeah.
Have you seen the South Park episode where that's all the people in trades are driving all the fancy cars and
No.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's awesome.
In the future, nobody knows how to do anything. I don't watch
That's
this, but I
interesting.
just saw this because
Yeah,
someone told me about it.
that's
Nobody
funny.
knows how to do anything in the future, and so there's only so many people who do trades, and they're just like now, plumbers are making 140 plus,
Yeah, yeah.
a year minimum,
Mhm.
and they're making all the money. It's almost like the house, the money pit in that house. I
Yeah,
don't know if
I
you
love that. Yeah, that's a
when
great
they'd all
movie.
everybody who came to look at their stuff were in Ferraris or
Mhm. Yeah, that's so good.
yeah. So, I mean, bottom line is, if you don't know what to do, I know this is a show
Mhm,
for entrepreneurs and whatever, but the most important thing is understand that you're going to make mistakes while you're building your business,
mhm.
and it's going to get ugly. I mean,
Yep.
I talked to one guy. There's 2 times he almost went bankrupt, right? And
Yeah.
I've been close to that even recently with what has happened in the last year. You're like, damn, wouldn't it
Mhm.
be easier if I just went and did
Just said
something else?
whatever. Yeah, right? It's
Yeah,
I feel like successful people and business owners almost always have been very close to declaring bankruptcy or have declared it at least once. Some of the most successful people have. I mean, it's crazy. But you're
well,
not like my 7-year-old son the other day was like, I'm gonna create a smoothie company." So he like built a little table, which was cool. He built a little table, he put it together himself. He took it out. They only sold one to the mail lady for $4. Then he came back in that night. He was like, "Ugh, I'm done. I'm a failure. This didn't go well. I give up." I'm like, "Okay, buddy. Well, so you're never going to be an entrepreneur if you're that quick to quit because, yeah, you're going to have some hard days. It's going to be really brutal. Like a lot, probably, not just once, a lot. But if you can get through it, you're going to have and actually build the life you want and not work 90, you don't need to work 90 hours a week to be successful. You can work really hard and then go live your life and build
right.
your life into it. But to me, that's success is like actually enjoying the whole ride of it, you know? But yeah, it's not for everybody.
No, because to build your business, you're working a lot. I talked to a lady the other day.
Mhm.
She only worked a 4-hour work week, and she built a business. I'm like, I
Yeah.
could never do a 4-hour work week and build a business.
Yeah. I don't I there's that book of it and I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't know. I have it. I've never read it. I probably should.
yeah, well, maybe. Well, the big thing is just having enough people to do stuff for you. My biggest problem here in
Mhm.
California is your employees are ridiculous. You're an employee, period, until proven otherwise. So
Mhm.
even contract workers are not contract workers in California's
Mm.
eyes.
Really?
So yeah, so in
Hmm.
our industry, everybody that works for me has a corporation because they do loans and they make
Oh.
good money. So we pay their
Mm.
corporation. So instead of a W-2
Mm.
employee,
Yeah.
same with contract processors.
Hmm.
I got tired of employees because you kill yourself for them and then
It's
they
hard.
don't care. Yeah, they don't care.
It's hard.
And it's
Mhm.
not that, I'm negative on that. It's just how can you do it better without having to worry about supporting everybody else?
Yeah,
Is there a way
that's
to
and
do it?
you
Yeah.
figured out a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Contract. Yeah.
Mhm.
Everybody contract.
Hmm.
And it works,
Yep.
and now because otherwise you got IRS, EDD, everybody looking at your
Mhm.
stuff. Did you pay
Oh,
enough?
yeah.
Did you pay your tax? Did you do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And
a
it
little
doesn't come into
terrifying.
play to hurt you until the end.
Oh, yeah, when you owe, like, millions, you're like, "What? I thought we were good."
Yeah. My bookkeeper was supposed to take care of this, and that's another problem.
Mm.
Here in our
Mm.
area, we've had 3 bookkeepers, or one was an
Mhm.
accountant inside. $1 million stole from one
Mm.
company, 1,000,008 for another.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yep. Very much so.
Jeez. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's a
So
crazy
you gotta
world,
be
and it yeah,
careful,
you
protect
do.
yourself. You gotta put
Mhm.
checks and balances in place and certain things in place to protect yourself. Don't, trust but verify, those kind of
Mhm.
things that when you're the business owner. And the other thing that's about being a business owner is it's very lonely at the top. So you need to
Oh,
be
totally.
together with a bunch of other business owners. Like you said, the people you were
Mhm.
able to call, the other ladies who
Yeah.
own businesses or do certain
Mhm.
things, that you should start a mastermind.
I mean, it is interesting, like, I sit alone I work out of my house, which I love. Some people are like, "I could never work out of my house." I'm like, "I love it." I'm, like, focused. I have to force myself to get out of my office sometimes. But, like, I like to joke because I have a lot of, friends that own different companies, brick and mortar, all kinds of different things, some online, and I'm like, "We're a special kinda crazy." We have literally everything on the line. People that don't own a business, they don't it's you can't explain the level, the responsibility you have, or if you mess up, like, it's not gonna go well. You have skin in the game, and people it's really hard for people to understand that have never done that.
Right. They don't understand how to take, and then the people you bring on, you take them on. They're
Mhm.
on with you and
Yeah,
you'll do it. Yeah.
you're responsible for them and
Yeah.
their livelihood. It's I don't ever take that lightly.
And I don't think people realize that. I don't think employees who work for you understand that either, what we do when we take on as a business owner.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really does unless they're actually doing it. Mhm.
Right. And that's what I was talking about back a few 20 minutes ago. We were talking about money, and you
Mhm.
don't, yeah, because I work for a guy and I thought I'd spent his money the same way I would if I owned a company. And then I
And then
went
you're like,
out and went,
"Whew."
oh, I was close, but not the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You learn, yeah, you can bitch a couple days about being paid.
Yeah,
Not your employees.
this is expensive. Yeah, my insurance alone, my commercial insurance is like 65 grand a year, and it is ridiculous. And I was just like switching insurance companies, and I was meeting one of those girlfriends that owns the restoration company, and I was like, "Oh my god, I hate dealing with insurance. Well, it's so expensive." And she's like, "Honey, mine's $450,000 a year." I'm like, "Okay." I'm just gonna sit here and be quiet. Like,
That's a big
yeah, that
company.
put it into perspective. Yeah, she has like 200 employees. I
Okay.
mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Insurance is insane, but I'm like, okay, it's all relative. Like I could still be upset how much mine is, but yeah, yours is you got me beat by a little bit.
Yeah, I interviewed a guy and he said that like his biggest loss was like 20 grand. I'm like, dude, that's nothing.
Yeah,
I,
most people it's like millions or yeah, a good
well, I'm just
six
saying in general
figures
for some, but and then I
in
was like,
general.
okay,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter when you're on here, whatever your biggest failure is whatever your biggest failure is. And to
Exactly.
him, that was his biggest failure at the time. I've had
Yep.
where I've had processors cost me that in a month
Mhm.
on a few
Yeah.
transactions, where we still get
Yeah.
it done, but I don't get paid, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, right. And just having like waiting for people to pay you like I think I have like 50 grand late payments, like just late, 60, 90 days out. I bill net 30, but some of these construction contracts are pay when paid. You're like harassing these people forever. And some weirdly pay me early. I'm like, you sure about that? Okay, I'll take it. But Yeah, it's just collecting your money too. It's hard, but I finally hired a part-time lady to help me in the office to like harass people about late payments and send invoices because I'm like, I don't want to do that and I don't have time to do that. So here you go. So, but
Very
then
much
last
so.
week I had to say, hey, so I will be calling my lawyer soon if you're not paying me. I'm like, and I'm not going to, but I'll threaten to, absolutely, because it's like it was done in last fall, you know. So you got to do what you got to do.
Sorry, I'm my American bully in here, and so I do my studio in my house now,
Oh
and
yeah.
usually it's not a problem. He's sleeping, but he
Oh
heard his
cute.
sister out there go attack a door, and
Oh
so
funny.
yeah. So when you're
If
talking,
you're
that's like I boop to turn
yeah.
that off so I can still hear you, but it's
My
like
my son, they get out of school early on Wednesdays and he's out in his hockey skates apparently rollerblading around my house on his skate guards. I'm like, "Oh, for the love of I asked you to be quiet. That's quiet? Okay. Well,
what's outside? Sorry.
no, it's
It's
in the
not in the
house.
house. Oh,
It's
it's
in
in
the
the house.
house.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
That's fair. All right, Chelsea. Anything else you want to add before you go?
Um
Especially for females getting into running their own
Yeah.
business.
I would say, first of all, if you want to connect with me, my website's chelseahusum.com. I would love to share stories because I love talking shop about, any of that. But I would say, understand that it's gonna take some grit, it's gonna take time. You're not gonna succeed overnight, but truly if you step into it, it can be something so beautiful and worth it.
I totally agree. That was great. Thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
But I
Thank
still
you.
think you should create a mastermind with all your different females who run companies.
I will. It's maybe on my to-do list. I gotta start a podcast first. I gotta,
No, I
just put
would
it on the
forget I
list.
first of all, I would forget the podcast. I would start the
Yeah?
mastermind. Here's what I would do.
Okay.
I would start the mastermind first, get everybody
Okay.
involved, and then
Okay.
you could do their podcast with each one of the people every other week and talk about what their
True.
challenges are over the last couple weeks or this and then their
Okay.
business and how they overcame them. And then
Mhm.
and only go, and please don't take it wrong, but just go focus on female entrepreneurs in the
Yeah.
construction industry.
Yeah. Maybe it could just be
Dude, I'm
booming. You
telling
never
you right there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can just see it. Okay, I'm good at
Yeah.
telling people what they should be able to do, where other people are good
Okay.
at telling me. One of my coaches asked me what I did these days, and I said I
Yeah.
really don't know anymore because I own a mortgage company. I do talk radio,
Yep.
which is real estate and finance. I do podcasts, blah blah. And he goes, "So you don't really see it, do you?" I go, "No." He goes, "You tell people stories across multiple mediums." I was like, "Oh, I do,
You
don't I?"
need somebody else to tell
Mhm.
you, right? Because we're like in our head and it's so hard to see, right?
I'm just
Yeah.
saying because with what you do and who you get, where you are, what you came from, your background,
Mhm.
and you have certain people already that that you
Mhm.
guys could all get together and you could help other female entrepreneurs all over the country.
That's true.
And that could be part of your podcasting is you'd have them on and talk about what their problems are, and then
Mhm.
you all could answer them.
Mhm. I love that. All right, when I'm a multimillionaire, I'm gonna come back and be like, "All right, Ed, that was
No,
you."
you could just when it gets going, you can just say, "Hey, this idea came to me from Ed Parcaut at
Okay.
Inner Edison. Go check out his podcast. He might help you too."
Awesome, I love it.
All right, Chelsea, thanks for being here today. You can check her out at Chelsea, and her last name is HUSUM.com, correct?
Thank you so much. Yep.
All right. Thank you. Make it a great day. And again, Chelsea, thank you for being here.